Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining today's webinar on a very specific topic of key interest to almost everybody in Saudi who runs a business here. And there is a compliance requirement specific to ZATCA, and that's what we are going to address today. Irrespective of the ERP or the solution you are owning, how the ZATCA can be kind of made compliant, the requirements can be made compliant with your overall business process is what we will discuss today. And we definitely have success stories in this line, right from very large organization until smaller organizations. So we come with immense experience on how to automate this on a solution-based approach. I would like to introduce our partners today, Complyance, who is represented by Hari Krishnan, who is the founder and CEO of the company. I would allow Hari to introduce himself a bit and also about Complyance, and we can move forward with specific question answers. And I would be moderating this, followed by a very brief demo as how we are going to do today. Of course, feel free to ask your questions. We have provided a lot of window for Q&A, so we would be glad to receive as many questions as possible. We would try to address them in the same call. In case we are not able to do so, we would get back to you positively, no question about it. Hari, over to you. Please give an introductory, this thing about Complyance as an organization and about your experience.
Yeah. So firstly, to start with Complyance. So Complyance is a leading e-invoicing solution provider in KSA. We started with started it now 2021, and we started gaining traction in the Saudi market. And I am Hari Krishnan, the founder and CEO of Complyance. So so we have been successfully working with Rainbrook for the last few months, and we have a few success stories to share in this webinar as well. And I welcome each and everyone who joined this webinar. I hope it is going to be very informative.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Hari. A brief note about myself. My name is Srikanth Ramakrishnan. I am the managing director for Saudi, Kuwait, and Africa. I head the sales and operations for this specific region. I come with close to 3 decades of IT experience, mostly on the delivery side, and probably the last lag of, say, 10 years specific to management and sales operations. So that's my profile in brief. So let's jump to the topic straight away today. So we will have a very simple question answer kind of a mode where I would ask the questions on behalf of my customers. Whoever asks me, I am going to ask this question to Hari, and Hari is going to explain his experience and journey on building this platform and delivering the last mile solution to the customers, right? So would you briefly explain about a need for automated e-invoicing and the platform Complyance, Hari?
So to start with automated e-invoicing. So since e-invoicing is new in the space, with phase 2, especially with the integration model coming in from ZATCA, so each and every business needs to, they need to focus on a strategy on how they can automate e-invoicing, especially for businesses who are dealing with very high scale transactions, especially with the higher volume on their side. And yeah, so with the manual invoicing strategy, so it's going to be very hectic. There's going to be a lot of errors for, the data related errors when there is injection. So with ZATCA phase 2 invoicing regulation coming in, there is around 450 plus rules that each and every invoice needs to be validated. So automated e-invoicing is going to help a lot in avoiding all these errors. So, and going forward, you would explore how Complyance platform is going to help you achieve that.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. So definitely there is a possibility to automate as and when the invoice gets generated, it kind of undergoes what is being offered as a solution, and the compliance gets triggered. That's how this is moving in. Excellent, Hari. We will go to the very important point, which is like, the key benefits while you do this automation. Of course, we have been discussing this with different customers because they come with different spectrum of solutions. There are different ERPs available in the market, the tier 1 ERPs, tier 2 ERPs, the customized solutions for billing and all other things are there. So as far as a B2B situation is concerned, there are invoices being generated, and Would you please explain the key benefit of automating these invoices? Because some of them, they say, I generate like 3 or 4 invoices a day. I'm better off doing this a manual upload, and I can get the invoices back. However, the game is very different if you are kind of printing hundreds of invoices. And yeah, of course, there are also nuances with respect to a manual way of doing things and the automated way of doing things. Would you please throw from your real-time experience how we can kind of provide the benefit in terms of automation of this invoicing process?
Yeah, definitely. So automation at its core, as we speak, in spite of in spite of the volume of the invoices that the business is generating, so though it is 3 to 4 invoices or the 100 invoices per day volume, so the significance of each and every B2B invoice, as you were stressing, is going to be huge. So if there is any room for error in each of these invoices that's generated, there is going to be hefty fines and penalties from ZATCA coming in. So, as I would say, since there are a lot of rules coming in with this phase 2 integration, it's better to automate invoices through using a validation engine that Complyance has. So, each and every invoice is screened against all the 3 layers that we have internally, so that it's ensured that each and every invoice is 100% compliant. It's not only going to help you save a lot of time and efforts for the finance team, it's also going to eradicate the room for data inaccuracy and also going to streamline your complete AR flow within the ERP. Yeah.
Yeah. And also there is also a certain degree of, mandatory obligation, say last 8 years of invoice needs to be preserved or last 10 years of invoice needs to be preserved. From industry to industry, the government norms or the statutory norm could get changed. So if you think of automating a solution, while this is prepared at a core level in your ERP, you can get this automated and generate the invoices, and you can get this back to your system and put it in an archive mode. So definitely consider automation. And the next thing would be, in terms of data synchronization, can you please throw some light, Hari? How does this work?
So since we are going with the integration model, since ZATCA has adopted an integration model with this phase 2, so there is a question from the business, from each and every business, whether would we have real-time data synchronization between Complyance or between any middleware between ZATCA and the ERP. So definitely yes. So the real-time data synchronization is going to happen through the integration model that we choose. So there are, as we know, widely we see there are 2 different integration models. One is the synchronous and the second is the asynchronous. So we operate or we choose to deploy only synchronous data integration types. For example, we have APIs, we have SFTPs. So as we are focused in an automated model, data entering out, data going out of ERPs are going to come back into ERPs from ZATCA or from Complyance in real time, and it's going to without even a second of latency.
Absolutely, that's a very interesting aspect, Hari. What I was also contemplating is, with respect to the security or the safety part of it, while we do the synchronization, of course, we are going to be considering those points as well, because you remember we did a very comprehensive VAPT test for one of our large customers in terms of addressing all their concerns. So it was a very comprehensive testing done by both the team, and that was well addressed, and that's very important aspect. And also there was rule, the invoice after validation from the ZATCA authorities or the Futura portal or from the compliance portal, when it gets back to the originated ERP system, government organization or the quasi-government organizations are reluctant to open firewall if the servers are not within Saudi. This is a standard policy of many of the ISMS policy by different IT, cyber security specialists in large organizations. So yes, Hari, so do you want to consider these aspects of, compliance being a, value added or a key player in this market, addressing these concerns? How do you look at this? I know this is slightly off the topic, but yeah, please address them, because we have done it together and we know about it. So you might want to throw some light here. Yeah.
Definitely, Srikanth. So considering the data security aspect, so as you were mentioning, each and every business is so concerned about opening their firewall to access the data that's residing inside the ERP. So considering this, we have deployed, jointly, we deployed an enterprise-grade security system that ensures each and every invoice travels through SSL secured pathways, not just SSL secured pathways. It's also, prevented from any kind of cyber attacks. And also the data is going to be, it's not transformed in the original state. It's transformed in an encrypted model so that, throughout it ensures that data is inside KSA and it's secure. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's a very interesting point, because this is something most of the people are asking, especially they have even a single connectivity with a government entity. This is asked by everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
And something really need to be contemplated is with respect to the audit trail of these transactions. How do we make sure we maintain an audit trail? Would you please throw some light? Because we need to know what happened, when it was originated, when the whole thing happened. So can you please elaborate a bit on the audit trail nature of what we are offering as a solution?
Yeah. So definitely. So the audit trail, not only from the business perspective, the audit trail is going to be critical from the ZATCA's audit perspective. There is an audit conducted by ZATCA. In the near future, ZATCA is definitely going to conduct audits after businesses go live. So at that point, it's crucial for any business to provide the ZATCA authority with the detailed logs or detailed trial of the transactions at any point. Say, data is moving out of ERP, goes to the compliance portal, and then compliance pushes it to ZATCA. At each of these touch points, the business need to ensure there is audit trials that's available to be given to the authority. So considering this, we have the compliance portal, which is going to give you 100% real-time invoice status visibility. So how data is being transferred between these three touch points and how it goes back to the ERP. Not only the compliance portal, there is also going to be a log in the ERP system itself or the XOR system itself. So this is going to definitely help a lot with the trial of transactions.
Fantastic. So one of the interesting questions a customer was asking me, what if we don't use compliance portal? I know what Futura portal is requesting. If I send the entire, validations coded by myself with a developer, can't I do that? Of course, yes, you can do that, but this is where the catch is. We know as a professional organization, compliance definitely takes care of the audit part. When ZATCA comes for an audit, after the potential prospect goes live, you would know the standard questionnaire, what is expected from the audit observations, what artifacts needs to be presented is something we have done in the past, and that's going to help the customers in a big way. So rather than pushing a simple invoice in an XML format, getting it validated with a cryptographic seal, it doesn't end there. Of course, you can do that if there is a developer. However, if you're looking at a very comprehensive platform in terms of the audit trail, the future audits, the security and safety of the application, these are all very, very important, and you need to consider. If not today, tomorrow, these things can become a larger issue for the enterprises. Of course, as the organization grows, they kind of, maturity, the security aspects of the company goes. Increased cyber securities are also very, very important in today's world. Yeah. So that's very interesting and fantastic for sharing that, Hari. Now, in a simple way, or even in a different way, what exactly are we doing when you say, hey guys, you are offering a platform, we engage with you, how do I ensure as a customer that the invoice that I generate in my ERP or my solution complies to the ZATCA requirement? Okay, so this is something you might want to elaborate, Hari, and maybe I will add upon our real-time example as well after you speak about it. Yeah,
definitely. So I would like to delve deep into the internal engines that we have built, that ensures that each and every invoice that a business generates is 100% compliant in regulations, in terms of the ZATCA's new regulations. And also, I would like to elaborate on how we ensure even post delivery of the particular invoice to any customer. How, as you were mentioning, when there is an audit, it's where it's so crucial or critical for the business to ensure that when the audit is being conducted, it's 100% compliant. So as we see, before ZATCA's invoicing integration, so there wasn't any real-time reporting with ZATCA. So now there is real-time reporting, real-time integration. So, I would like to elaborate the process from the invoice generation to the invoice delivery, how each and every in each and every step it's been ensured that it is compliant. So in the very first step, I would say there is only 80% data available in any ERP for at this point of time if they want to do an integration. The rest 20% of data is being built by compliance. So before we build this 20% data, we ensure that the 80% data that is residing in the ERP is compliant. As I said, the 450 plus rules are being validated, and then it's pushed to the pre-processing layer that we internally have. So this pre-processing layer is only triggered when the basic rules are satisfied. So in this way, it ensures that when it reaches the transformation layer, that is a third layer that we have internally. So it ensures that the validation is passed, the pre-processing has been done, and then it's being pushed to ZATCA. So this ensures, and to add on to this, in the past, with the last transactions, we have 100% success rate of posting invoices to ZATCA. ZATCA has accepted all the invoices that we have posted in real time. If there is any error, ZATCA is going to throw us in real time a rejection. So if we had faced any rejections in the past, that's going to impact the existing customers. There has been 0 rejections from ZATCA.
Fantastic, fantastic. So even in the case that we worked for one of the largest, customer in this segment here in Middle East, so we did ZATCA for a very large hospitality food segment company, and they had one of the top 5 audit firms, and due to the confidentiality, I wouldn't want to name the audit firm. So after we completed the entire work, the work was audited by this specific top 5 auditing firm, and they have agreed. In fact, the requirement what provided by them and what has been kind of provided by us was kind of matching without even a single field varying here and there.
Yes.
So one of the interesting points you mentioned, Hari, this is very key, because many legacy systems, when they want to go for ZATCA, there are certain critical fields which is missing in their legacy system. So while we try to bring them, yes, we have an offer, we have solution on the back end, we have people who can build these critical fields and pre-populate the information, pull out this, invoice headers and footers, convert them into a meaningful XML, and get the whole thing validated by ZATCA and push it back. So even if the audience, if you have issues, or if you have ERPs on legacy systems or any custom-made ERPs, even if you're missing some of the critical fields, please do not worry. As a part of the implementation, we will take care of addressing those concerns as well. So we would assure you 100% compliance and fulfillment on the ZATCA requirement. That's a commitment from our side together. That's what we want to offer to you. What we would now do is, enough of talking has been done, and we want to kind of take one more point, then we go to the live demo. Hari, would you please touch upon this topic? Of course, we kind of spoke about it here and there, but very precisely, how do we kind of address this security part? If you can touch this, then I can pass the control to you for a detailed demo.
Yeah, definitely. So as we were speaking, considering the security, so fundamentally the servers need to be residing inside KSA. There is and I want to add one more point. The recent times in the past few weeks, a few months back, ZATCA has restricted non-Saudi servers to reach ZATCA servers. So this is one of the crucial points of where the solution providers who are not following the standards were out of the way suddenly. So as we know, with the CITC regulations, it's not just the ZATCA regulations. There is again CITC regulations coming in with cloud security related regulations. So we comply with all the CITC regulations to ensure data is being securely stored inside KSA servers, and also as we were discussing with the extensive VAPT testing and all we did. And so there is an enterprise grade security layer that ensures data is 100% secure.
Fantastic. So that's a great perspective with respect to data security. What I will do now is pass on this screen to you. Kindly take it forward with a live demo. And viewers, feel free to post your questions. You have a chat window. We would take as many questions as possible, and we would address any of your questions are available. Hari, over to you, Hari, on the demo front.
Yeah. Thank you, Shrikant. So I'll share my screen and I'll begin the demo. So, yeah, I hope my screen is visible. Yeah. So, so before we jump into the live demo or the actual technical part of the demo, I would like to give a functional explanation of how transactions are being dealt with, or how transactions are going to be dealt in the future after a business goes live. So this is how ZATCA expects, as you see in this, the flow diagram. We have demonstrated, or we have with illustrations, we have demonstrated the steps that takes place between a seller and a buyer. So in our case, as a seller, as a business, every invoice that's being generated in the ERP is pushed to compliance portal. So compliance has, as I was mentioning, we have multiple different integration types. In real time, we have scheduled listeners, which picks data from the invoice, from the ERP database or from invoice ERP's financial module in real time, and then it's pushed to the ZATCA's, the E-Invoicing platform of ZATCA, the Fatura portal, and then it's once ZATCA performs the validation of invoices, it digitally signs. We call it the cryptographic stamp or cryptographic signature, and then ZATCA shares us back the compliant invoice. So in this process, return from ZATCA, we receive a QR code. In the later in this when I post this explanation, I'll be showing how QR code is received from ZATCA and how we get the XML data, which is critical for audit, from ZATCA, and how we are going to store it in the ERP database. So this is how once the invoice is generated, it's received back as a compliant invoice. Post this invoice will be shared with the buyer. So this process is in terms of the B2B transaction. So we do have B2C transaction where it involves a pretty different process. So in B2C, we have two different steps. I would say the B2C compliance process is called reporting. So firstly, let's consider a real life example where there is a supermarket which is generating invoices on a high volume on a daily basis. So whenever an invoice is generated, a QR code is being printed by compliance, and within 24 hours, the invoice will be reported to ZATCA. So this is the high level workflow for B2C. And so coming to the system design that we have in place to achieve this process. So as I was mentioning, so we have different core engine. We call it the APIs that cover or that takes care of generating invoices, or that takes care of complying each and every invoices with ZATCA's portal. So as you see here, with phase 2, onboarding process is a new process that ZATCA has introduced. So onboarding, as we see, each and every business needs to conduct a detailed study on how many invoice sequences they are maintaining. For example, business A is maintaining invoice sequence separately for issuing invoices, and then they have another sequence for issuing credit notes. In that case, they are having two invoice sequences. So in this case, these two invoice sequences should be onboarded with ZATCA's Fatura platform. So this is a new requirement. Before you go live, before you do the actual integration, you need to do the onboarding. So we have simplified the onboarding process. It's a pretty complex process. It involves 8 to 9 steps before you successfully onboard a sequence with ZATCA. So we have simplified all these 9 steps into a single step onboarding, wherein you give the user and device details, basically a branch details, a VAT number, and then the type of transactions that the business, the particular sequence deals with. So the onboarding process is firstly completed, and then we have the core process, as I was mentioning, the QR generation, the reporting, and then we have clearance, and then we go ahead with the PDF agent. So it's time to show you the demo. So yeah, I quickly move to the So as I was stressing on the onboarding process, I would show a sample of how we onboard. Let's create a demo account to access the compliance portal. So I created a demo account to access the compliance portal. So I just give demo 34 and then I create an account. So we get an account created. Yeah. So once I create an account, now I sign in. So when we do the actual integration with a particular, when we automate the invoicing, all these triggers are going to be running in the background. None of these is going to impact a functional user, as in, say, there is an accountant who's generating invoices. All these processes are going to be running in the background so that, it's not going to impact any of the existing workflow that the accountant is following. So he's still going to generate the invoice, print the invoice, and issue the invoice with QR code to the particular customer. Yeah. So as we see here, this AGS onboarding, I have done a successful onboarding and we received a success response from ZATCA. And now, once we do the onboarding, this onboarding, I would like to elaborate a bit. So onboarding is a one-time registration process, which is going to be valid for the next 1 year. At the end of the next year, when it's going to expire, each and every AGS or each and every sequence that we onboarded needs to be renewed. So to renew, you need to generate OTPs from the Fatura portal, and using these OTP, again, it can be renewed in the next year. So once we do the onboarding, I'm going to show you how a B2B invoice, that is a standard tax invoice, is being sent to ZATCA and how we receive a response from ZATCA. So this is a sample data that we received from a ERP. So let's consider business A is having ERP X, and from this data has been pushed from the ERP to the compliance portal. So the compliance trigger has been made, and yeah, so we received the response from ZATCA. So internally, compliance did all these validations, as I was mentioning, 450 plus rules, and it got a successful response. So we received XML data from ZATCA, and we also received the QR code from ZATCA. So I would like to show the application wherein this particular invoice will be reflected. So this is the compliance portal where the invoices that's pushed from ERP in real time in the background, it's going to be pushed to the compliance portal as well. So we get a clear response. We get to see the status that ZATCA has given us, and then we can also view the particular document and see the PDF of that particular PDF file of that particular document. Say this is invoice number 30 with the B2B invoice transaction type. So we also get to see the XML of the particular document. So this XML, as I was mentioning, is going to be very, very critical for ZATCA audits, and it needs to be 100% compliant. So I would like to show how we can download this XML and how this XML can be validated in the ZATCA's live website itself. So I downloaded this PDF. So now let me open the PDF in the PDF viewer. So this is the PDF A3 invoice. So this PDF, as I was mentioning, it is going to have an attachment file. So this attachment is the XML file that ZATCA has sent us. And as you see here, this is the QR code that we received from ZATCA. So let me post the invoice to upload the XML to ZATCA and validate it. Yeah, so as you see here, we received a valid response from ZATCA's XML validation portal, and this ensures the invoice is 100% compliant in ZATCA with ZATCA's new regulations. Yeah. So I hope this demo was able to demonstrate how the invoices are how we do a onboarding process, and how we post the onboarding process, how we post invoices to ZATCA, and how we receive a compliant XML and a QR code from ZATCA. I'll stop my screen share and over to you, Shrikant. Yeah, Shrikant, I think we cannot hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Hari. So we got few questions coming through our way. So I would take these questions one by one, and Hari, if you can try answering them, that would be great. So question number one, what changes can expect with the move to ZATCA e-invoicing? Um, how does it affect business? So that's a question being asked.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to explain the gap analysis exercise that we do. So, as we were talking previously in this session, there is 80% data and 20% data that needs to be generated. So, as far as the data is concerned, there is new data depending on the integration, depending on the business. If the ERP is not configured properly, we need to do some minor adjustments to capture new data. For example, I would say most of the cases, buyer VAT number or the customer's VAT number or customer's tax details are not being properly captured by the businesses. So we have come across certain cases. So this, with the gap analysis that we do, we provide consultative support to businesses to do some minor changes to, get more data or get data that's mandatory for ZATCA invoicing. This is one of the major changes. Apart from this, on a functional level, I would say there would not be any much change for the person who is generating invoices. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, Hari. See, another very interesting question that has come, and what it kind of precisely addresses is how complex is this integration? If at all we want to integrate with our internal system to the compliance portal. Okay, so audience, you might need to understand the whole system in a three-layer approach. Okay, the most important layer is the Futura portal, which is where the government authorities, they validate the invoice. The second layer is the compliance portal, where we kind of prepare the invoices in such a way that it is acceptable for the Futura portal in line with the ZATCA compliance. The most important is the layer 3, which is your internal system, where you actually produce the invoice. Okay, now we are only talking the integration between your in-house ERP system or the system that generates invoice. How does that get integrated with the compliance portal? That's a question. So you might want to take this in two different angles, Hari. I would prefer you answering this on both, the automated way and a manual way. If you can address them, that will be great, because we have done it in multiple ways, so we can deliberate this. It's worth spending some time on this topic, actually, because this is exactly what they're going to see, right, when we deliver it. So take this point, Hari.
Yeah, definitely. So I will explain in detail the integration possibilities. As you were mentioning, there are two types on a high level. One is the automated integration, and the second one is the manual integration, or I would say a manual process. So, firstly, let's talk about the automated integration possibility. So, there are multiple different synchronous integration models that we have. So one such is the API integration, and then we have SFTP integration, and then we have direct DB level integration, and then we have scheduled listener integrations. So in all these three to four cases, the integration is going to be automated. When I say automated, it's right from invoice generation, the point where invoice reaches ZATCA and gets back to the actual ERP, the complete process will be automated. I would say it is running on the background. So whenever there is from an accountant perspective, who's let's imagine I'm an accountant, I'm creating an invoice. What I would see is with the phase 2, I would just see a new QR code coming in. Rest all is automated in the background. Even with the logs that's coming from the XML data from ZATCA, all these are posted in the background in the database. Only when there is scope for audit, it's going to jump into picture. And the second possibility, the manual integration. So manual integration, or I would say manual uploading of invoices in this aspect. So here, invoices, we do have a portal with the import option where businesses who are generating very less number of invoices, who think the integration is complex and not feasible, they can opt for uploading of invoices. Like say they're generating one or two invoices in a few in weeks, so they can upload invoices to ZATCA portal manually, and then the rest is taken care of.
Absolutely. That's a very interesting observation. Thank you, Hari. Very important. Yeah. Third is something with respect to the change management. In terms of what kind of training is required? That's the way it is being asked by the audience. How many days of training is required? How long does it take for the people within the organization to understand the new system? Is there a training component available for the employees, and how will the day-to-day work that's going to get affected once the integration is over? So you can take it away from both the perspectives, because when you are doing it in an automated way, there is a certain fashion you are doing it. If you are doing it in a manual way, there is a fashion you are doing it. And just one more point I want to add before you take this question. Usually it takes 2 to 4 weeks for implementation of ZATCA. Best case is always 2 weeks. We usually have done most of the work in 2 weeks, but there are cases where it gets extended for 4 weeks as well. So that's the perspective in terms of the time frame I want to tell you. Hari, please take it away from a change management perspective, how it works on the working style of people. Yeah,
definitely. So as you were mentioning, like since this ZATCA is a very new regulation that's coming in, so definitely there is a huge work for change management. So as I was touching the ERP part, where there is need to add more data layers, or I would say data fields that needs to be captured. That is one point where the data management, the change management is going to start coming into picture. And then post the go live, as we were speaking about the training part. So there is definitely going to be a training module, both for the finance team and the IT team. So the finance team would be engaged on a week of training, where they will be trained on the best practices and the mandatory practices that they need to follow with the new regulation. And then with the IT perspective, there are going to be, since the integration is going to be in place, there is a lot of background processes that needs to be taken care of. And especially the change management is going to have more impact when it is a manual integration model. When it is an automated integration model, change management is going to have relatively less work when compared to the manual one.
And just to give one more perspective, in real time, the way it happens in large organizations, they will have certain document management system or any archival systems present, and maybe like a SharePoint, or maybe like a DocStar in the case of Epic, or it could be anything else, or it could be a simple flat file as well, right? So the complied ZATCA invoice, it gets pushed back to your system, and you can kind of archive and tag it in certain fashion so that you can access it at any point of time, because there is also a mandatory law to preserve these documents over a period of time. And you might want to really contemplate how to set up the business continuity program for such archives, so on and so forth. So there are length and breadths we can talk about it. So based on your appetite, basically, it kind of goes on and on. Yeah. Now there is a very, very point blank question. Hari, I would take this question myself. Somebody is asking plain simple question: what is the cost? Okay, so the cost is very simple. There is no major complexity here. There is a yearly cost, and there is also a one-time cost for implementation. Okay, the yearly cost depends upon the number of invoices you generate in a year. That's how we have priced the entire solution. Yeah. So as a rule of thumb, I tried answering this question a while ago. The best case of implementation is like 2 weeks, and the worst case is like 4 weeks. So you can make out easily, typically a provider, a service provider, what could be a typical service price for 3 weeks, average it out 2 to 4 is 3 weeks, and you'll have the number with you. So they're not highly priced, and of course, don't worry about the pricing part. We'll be more than happy to ensure the requirements are met and you are 100% compliant with the requirement. So that's how it is priced. We have one more question. In terms of integration, is there a chance, okay, while we do this integration, is there a possibility that we will lose the data in the system? What measures are taken to prevent data loss? That is a very critical question. Would you want to take this question, Hari?
Yeah, definitely, Shrikant. So that's a very interesting question about the prevention of data loss. So that's one of the core aspects, as I was mentioning. So there are cases where ZATCA itself is explaining where there might be downtimes from ZATCA, or there might be downtimes from business that the ERP system, especially if it's a legacy system, there might be frequent downtimes in a month. So ZATCA has talked about this in detail and also documented it in detail. So there might be cases where there is scope for data loss. So prevent this, we have, as I was explaining internally within the 3 layers. So we have, data backups at each of these layers. Say we validated the invoice, pre-processed it, transformed it, we posted to ZATCA, and then say ZATCA systems are down. So what happens in that case? So we do have a backup of each and every invoice that has passed through each of these steps, and also data is going to be backed up on the ERP server. So the data that's residing in the ERP is not being updated just as it is. It is going to be operated in a separate staging layer. So this staging layer ensures the original data is not being lost at any case. There is going to be addition of data in the staging DB. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hari. That was a wonderful insight. If still there are questions persist in your mind, dear viewers, feel free to reach out to our team. You can drop an email along with your registration. We would publish you a thank you note, and you will get a email from Ryan Brooker or Complyance. Feel free to ask your questions at any point of time. We would be glad to talk to you and confirm this. Anybody needs any special focused demo, we would be glad to do this demo for you. And a bit, background. We are known as Ryan Brooker. We are one of the largest organizations in this region to provide ERP and IT solutions, which includes Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And we have partnered with Complyance for providing ZATCA solutions, which is one of the key things that is required for Saudi compliance requirement. We are a company, a European company with a global mindset. We are headquartered in Maastricht. We have operational headquarters in Cologne. We do have offices in Dubai, Saudi, and India. That's how we operate. We do have a strong state of delivery centers across the region that I've mentioned recently. Top 5 of the global Fortune 500 companies, customers we own, and we operate on them specific to certain niche solutions. We do offer Epicor as an ERP solution on cloud and also on premises. We also provide solutions, mobile solutions, business intelligence, and data analytics on top of Microsoft platform. Approximately 200 associates globally. That's our strength, and we do have PMP and Six Sigma certified members who can provide you world-class solutions. That's about Ryan Brooker in a glance, and I really thank you so much for attending this webinar, and great talking to you. Feel free to ask any questions at any point of time, and we'll be glad to take this forward. And we can even organize one-on-one demo if your organization is needing anything in line with ZATCA. Certainly get back to us on the info@ryanix.com. We'll be glad to talk to you and address your concern. That's it. Thank you very much. Wonderful evening, and thank you so much. We are honored by talking to you, and thank you very much for your presence. Thanks a lot.